I'm going to show you how to replace your brakes, pads and rotors. Now if you don't have a rattle gun, make sure the wheel is just touching the surface. That'll make it grip up so you can undo these bolts. Also, what you want to do is chock up the front wheel and release the handbrake and have it out of gear, because we'll be adjusting the handbrake in this video as well. So, alright, wheel slides off. Put the T50 in. Always give it a nice little tap. Freeze it up. Whoops. Should be able to take it off easier that way. As you can see, there's two bolts behind the caliper that you need to remove. There and one beneath it. Also, you want to remove this sensor here. You can unpull it from the plug. I don't like undoing it from here because it tends to snap it, so we'll take that out later. So just unplug that. Now, it's a size 19 bolt. Make sure you turn anti-clockwise to undo the bolts. It's always good to give them a little tap as well to free them up beforehand. Now we'll need to compress the piston back into, because these rotors here have got a bit of a lip and the brake pads will be stuck in there. Usually tie calipers up so they don't hang, but in this Sprinter there's a place where you can just rest it behind the rotor. Okay. Now, the quickest way to compress these for now is flathead screwdriver in the top between the pad and the rotor, and just slowly squeeze it out like that. Now the bottom. Just let it slowly press. Now that should slide out. Pop that up there for now. We'll need to take off the pads and this clip here. But in the meantime, getting this rotor off, it can either slide out easy or you're going to have a real pain getting it off. Now, you can put a bolt back in to the rotor and use a clamp from behind the rotor to the bolt, and you tighten it, it'll pop the rotor off. Now I had some trouble with it before, so what I'm first going to do is spray it with WD-40 or like a lubricant. You want to get it inside these nuts as well, or the threads, because if the handbrake's on, make sure the handbrake's not on. Handbrake's on, it's going to be pushing out on the inside of the rotor, making it very hard to take off. So I ended up clamping my rotor up. 3 clamps. Put a bolt in there. Clamps obviously aren't strong enough to turn that. So what I did was, I used a normal shift up, 19, put it on the bolt and undone the bolt. Bolt's a lot more stronger to undo. Unless you've got some big heavy duty clamps, these ones just snapped on me. But undo the bolt from the inside. As you put a lot of strain on it, grab the hammer, give it a few taps, and all of a sudden the rotor will just pop out of place. Rotor slides off. Do this, grab the brush, give this a little bit of a clean. Okay, this tensions the handbrake here. So you undo the bolt, or you tighten it up, and it expands that or subtracts it. So when you've got the rotor in, you want to do is tighten it up as much as you can before it grips, and that's how you tighten your handbrake. Now if you just leave your wheel on and remove one of the nuts, you should be able to adjust it without even taking the wheel off, just by lining this up to the correct section, putting a screwdriver through and adjusting it that way. See, that's expanding it, so it's tightening the handbrake, and that's loosening it. So for now we want to have it as loose as we can, and we'll adjust it later on when we put the rotor back on. It's much easier when you remove the pads. So you can wedge the pads out, and it should make things a lot more easier to remove that clip. There's one pad. See, there's not much left on it. You can remove this bracket now with ease. Okay, with the pad still here, you remove the first pad. Now you can squeeze this up, and then this bracket should easily just pop out like that. That out all together. That comes out like that. Pad comes out, and because we removed the wire, that's out like that. Put in a space where we can clean that out now. What you want to do is give this rubber here around the piston a quick clean. Just a very quick clean. We're going to press this piston back in just with a clamp, because when you put the new pads in, you're going to need a lot more space because they're a lot thicker than what they were. Now, these are very easy to compress in. Just do them slowly. Don't want to go too fast. There we go. It's compressed in. You can go ahead and clean it out properly. You can use some brake cleaner for this, but I find just using the brush does a sufficient job. You don't need to clean everything off it, just the majority, because after you drive around in a week's time, it's going to have a lot of brake dust back on it, so don't stress too much. Make sure these are clean. What I tend to do is just put a little bit of grease on the end of these. You don't have to. So I like things to run smoothly. Just a little bit. There we go. So we're going to slide this back into the caliper. So you want to clean that grease off your fingers. You don't want to get any on the pads. Slide that back into the caliper. There we go. Put the first pad in. You don't need to put the sensor in now. You can put it in once the caliper's back on. So sometimes a little tricky to push in.